apparently we're live. Okay, we're doing it this way around.
Hi, this is Let's Talk About Dating with Barry and Christine on WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, the biggest internet talk radio for singles. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. It's much fun to be here again.
Oh my gosh, so fun. This is going to be such a great subject. We're going to talk about how to feel safe in dating as well as in relationships.
It's a question
I think it's great.
So, yeah. And it's one of those topics that doesn't get talked about much. It's more about getting the goal.
Yeah, not enough for sure. And with all the extra added things in our life right now that can maybe feel a little less safe, I think it's really very timely, really topical.
I agree. Yes, this is going to be, I would say people should be making notes from this. Oh, there we go.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Now we have our good side.
Okay, I'm so stressed now. I was like, I don't know why I was feeling so stressed.
We like our things the way we like our things.
Yes, I guess more comfortable.
That's one of the ways we feel safe, right? Is when we feel comfortable with our things.
Tip number 1, make a note.
Yes. What makes you feel comfortable? I think that's a really good place to start, because when I'll ask people, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid will happen? What are you afraid won't happen? They often don't have a solution at all, which is why we're here. So one of the things to think about is, okay, what would make you feel comfortable? What would make you feel unsafe? What would make you feel safe? What would make you feel not worried? So that's what we're going to talk about.
And that's the thing, is safety. I mean, it's such a range, I think, what safety is, and the recognition of and so I mean, in a way, comfort's kind of key piece too, because dating and relationships, oftentimes we think we're going to go outside our comfort zone to get there.
Yeah.
And recently I've had conversations in some of the clubhouse rooms I've been in, where we talk about, like, you have to go beyond the comfort zone to succeed, to do business and all this sort of stuff. And finally goes, yeah, but the thing is, what I really got clearly is that being outside your comfort zone isn't uncomfortable. Being outside your comfort zone is outside the familiar, in a sense where the magic can begin.
Uh-huh.
So having magic isn't uncomfortable necessarily.
No.
And being magical doesn't necessarily mean you're unsafe.
Right.
It's just expanding your vision of what's possible. And so this thing about safety we're going to talk about is, yes, you want to make sure that if you are thinking about vaccines, you take care of that sort of stuff, but also, how do you take care of yourself in the dating process?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a whole different thing we haven't talked about much.
Yes. And such a good point to bring up comfort zone, because if you're out of your comfort zone, it's different, not necessarily unsafe.
Yes.
And different can feel potentially unsafe. It doesn't automatically mean it's unsafe. So how do you gauge that? How do you go through the process of, is it just different, or is it potentially unsafe? And if it's potentially unsafe, what do you do about that?
Right.
Yeah.
And that is huge, because it's the fear factor that shows up. You know, people are so oftentimes so willing to, hit the keyboard on the key on the keyboard or on the smartphones in the app, or to step aside the front door because they're afraid of the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And really, it's the thing about, I mean, we must talk somewhere along the line about how we create our reality. If we haven't, we're doing it now.
Yeah.
But it's the thing is that if we're going to go out from a place of fear and uncertainty and worry, then the result you're going to create is going to probably mirror that. And that's not what you want. Mm-hmm. So this safety stuff is also about, how do you start feeling trusting of yourself and feeling comfortable in yourself? So when you're in the dating environment, or if you're in a relationship, you feel more comfortable.
Yes. And something I explain to ladies all the time that they don't know, and certainly I want to hear your input, since I'm going to be talking about men in general.
Yes.
Good men work hard, think consciously about, how can I make her feel comfortable? How can I make her feel safe? How can I assure her I'm a good guy? And if we're over here independently as women, worried, not even specifically about you or certainly anything you've done or said, just our worrying that goes on in our head, you're going to pick it up and go, well, what did I do already? What do I need to do different? Oh my gosh, I must be the reason she's uncomfortable. And lots of the time, it's that we wonder if we wore the right thing. We wonder if we said the right thing. We think you're going to notice the pimple on our chin. I mean, really, it has so nothing to do with you, but you're going to take it 100% personally. And there, the whole date is fraught with problems.
Were you watching my life 20 years ago?
No. Just had experiences with that and hear it all the time. From both men and women, I hear this conversation all the time.
It's funny because we said that because I did an Instagram live interview right before this, and one of the things that said that men can bring when they really do put ourselves in the right place is we bring a sense of trust with us. Not because we're going to say you can trust me, but we do things that make us trustable, which is basically one of the gifts that we have in the masculine presence. In the masculinity is presence. One of the things we bring when we are fully embodying who we are is we're trustworthy because of who we are in our space, the energy we bring, no convincing, no other things. And when the woman can rely on that and trust that and feel safe with it, that's bonus points.
Yes.
So
we need to do our womanly personal work so that we really can pay attention to our inner knowing, our inner intuition that would have a spidey sense to go, no, this is something to worry about, rather than all those other arbitrary things that we worry about that really have nothing to do with the date. And we put on you and you take it on, and then we're in a static place, like in between the radio stations, right from the beginning of the date. And how sad is that? You really want to put your best foot forward. You want to get a chance to really know this person. And if you got all this static in between the two of you, that's just going to start out with a negative.
And that's the thing, that again, that sense of being present that we can bring as a man and really owning that space is what in a way becomes the sort of, since using your metaphor, is like we become the magnet that tunes you in, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or just be clear, or have you choose out completely.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
the thing is that, and that's the thing about it, and this is actually a whole different conversation about the nuance of dating, is for us men, when we really own our masculine presence, we become more detached. So when a woman likes what we have and comes forward and meets us in the middle, we go, that's great. But then if she chooses not to and go somewhere else, we can actually feel, maybe this is just me, but I feel like we can actually be okay with that. That we can say, okay, I'm realizing that didn't work, that's fine, but I'm glad who I am is who I am. And I trust who I am. Because that trust is what builds safety for ourselves. And then when we're on another date, that person might appreciate it more.
Yes.
But don't give it, it's like for men out there watching this, don't give up that self-work that is putting you back in your own presence, that brings you, it's almost like, for me, the sense of being present in myself, like to be in that energy where I can be with somebody and not be wishy-washy or waverable.
Yes.
Is almost a reward in itself.
Yes. So my feeling, as yours is, we've talked about this a lot, is that both people come into this date feeling worthy and worthwhile and a good person, and you're assuming you're meeting another good person, and you're just going to find out. And whatever happens, it's not because you're a bad person if they don't want to ask you out a second time, or they turn out to be somebody that's so not a match for you. It's not because you're a bad person. It's right. And how nice you go. So you can turn it around and go, rather than, oh my God, I screwed up, or oh my God, I'm a bad person, of, oh, well, that was good. I learned who isn't a match for me. And I can be even more clear about my questions next time before I meet them, or more clear about what it is I now need and want in a relationship, now that I had this sit across from me that turned out wasn't for me. And to keep feeling like you're moving forward rather than stepping back from being who you really are.
Absolutely. In fact, I would go so far as to say, before you even get to that point of the dating, it sounds simple, and we talked about this before many times too, is get clear of what you want.
Yeah.
So that when you show up, you go, this fits, this doesn't fit. And the thing about this whole thing is this safety piece is the recognition that this is all choices.
Yes.
And having a choice is part of being safe, because if you don't have a choice, you don't feel very safe.
Yes.
And that's the thing is, so again, as you were saying, know what you really want. So when you meet somebody and you go out on the date, it's like it's a clear yes or clear no, and you go, that's fine. or it's a question you're not sure about, spend a little time getting to know them better.
Yeah.
But then it's okay to walk away, because the reality is walking away is healthier sometimes than staying, because staying isn't safe.
No. So if we talk about safety in dating and we get down to the really basic nitty and gritty parts, so if you think about mental, physical, emotional safety, we could certainly talk about the physical safety first. And do you know what?
What?
Match.com has now added a box for you to say if you're vaccinated or not.
Actually, so have a bunch of other apps. I've been reading about that. Yes. Yeah.
I know. Isn't that interesting?
It's part of the makeup. It's part of the makeup now. It's part of what we talk about. You know, I mean, social gatherings, because the vaccines and the virus and everything else has become a front and center question. So it's not just sexual diseases; it's the virus too. So of course it's going to be part of the conversation. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. It's needed.
So
yes.
Making sure that you're physically safe in today's climate. You know, it's not. So we'll talk about all the other stuff that's been around forever, but now. Talk ahead of time where you're going to meet, inside or out. Are you more comfortable in masks or not? Have they been vaccinated? Have you? And it's going to be an interesting conversation. I've been watching my clients about, well, how do you feel about their answer if it's not the same as yours? And
Yep.
I have no judgment about what they're going to say, but I make sure that they have that conversation though. If their answer is different than yours, then what are you going to do about it? And doesn't it set a good foundation for open discussion about what even bigger things are going to be important to you to see if you're a match? Because they're like, I can't ask that question. Well, then what other questions are you going to be afraid to ask? Really, that are really important.
Oh boy. You got me on that one. It's like going, where do I go with this? I mean, I've said this before oftentimes about the pre-date idea about you should go meet somebody in a public place, daytime, cheap, that sort of stuff. But now it's outside is almost a requirement. And, you know, because the climate's doing what it's doing, some places it's not so easy to go outside. But the thing is, I think personally, because dates, for me, are a chance to get to know somebody. So to be somewhere you got plenty of room outside where it's quiet, so you can talk versus being somewhere that's very noisy and crowded anyway. You know, people think their first dates in crowded, noisy restaurants. Doesn't make sense to me anyway. But secondly, right now, there's too much risk factor there. So you want to be somewhere probably where it's outside, patio dining, where it's quiet. And it's funny, so there was actually an article reading yesterday, I think, in the New York Times about how in New York, they had those plastic barriers up, like the clear plastic barriers between tables so people could, you know, not transmission. Even though the science says there's not really much of an effect of those things, people like it because it gives them privacy. Uh-huh. So having space to be with the other person and not be disturbed gives you the sense. So it's not just a safety factor; it's actually a benefit because you can now communicate in a more intimate space.
Yes,
and more.
And you don't feel like you're screaming to be heard, which is not very intimate at all.
No. When the background music's playing so loud or there's so much distraction, you're like, "Do you come here often?" It's like, no.
I know. But that's not good.
No.
And it's amazing how I just saw in one of the widow pages, this woman was going to have a first date and she was inviting him to her house for dinner. Ooh. So we're going to say it again. You touched on it, but I'm going to say it really loud and clear. Drive your own car to a public place, preferably in the daytime, and drive yourself home again. And what I've told so many people, what I did before I met my husband and I now do again, is I went to local restaurants and I told them what I was doing. I'm meeting a person here for the first time and I am coming here because I know that I'll feel really safe. And they took it really personally to keep an eye on me at my table and to watch me when I walk to my car. And how nice is that? Because even if they are the most wonderful guy, you still need to look out for yourself. You still need to do something that keeps yourself safe, especially for women, because generally you're bigger and stronger than us and you could overpower us if you really wanted to, if you were some bad person. So it's very important for us to look out for our own safety. And every man I told that to, because I did, they were like, oh, that's really cool. Wow, I'm going to tell my mom and my sister they should do that when they're dating, because they cared about their family safety too.
And it's the thing, I mean, you said that, it's like, I never thought of that one, which thank you for saying it. No, I got it on my list. Is the thing, there's something special about that place of creating it safety. And, I said also, that's why they predate, because traditionally the first date's where the man buys dinner for the woman.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do it daytime and you make it cheap and you basically split it, because that way there's no debt owed.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the thing about safety is that when a man takes a woman out for a date, he might expect something in return, which isn't safe, isn't appropriate necessarily. I mean, yes, obviously when there's passion and connection and chemistry, then maybe something should happen anyway. But for most of us, you regular people, having the chance to get to know somebody first and taking time to consider what you've experienced to see if you want to go further, by having that common space where there is no debt owed and there's no imbalance, is a much healthier way to approach. It's a safer way to approach relationship as well, dating as well, because you created this place of internal responsibility. You're not saying, well, I'm indebted to them for some reason.
Yes.
So that piece works a lot too.
And I picked 3 different places that have 3 different price points. And then when they'd say, where do you want to go? I'd say, here's the 3. You pick.
Yeah.
And I liked them picking. It felt very gentlemanly to me, but I knew I would feel safe at all of them.
That's the point right there, because you make our job easier.
Oh yeah. They were very appreciative of it. They've all been very appreciative of it.
Because that data went on a while ago, which was like halfway between we live, because we live quite away from each other. But my first question I was asking, just so I know, because living in LA is a big question, is what are your dietary restrictions? Yeah. Because I could choose somewhere that wouldn't work at all, but I don't want to do. I was like, before I want to be able to choose where we want to go, which she liked. But so it makes my job a bit more successful. Let me know what you do or don't like having your dietary requirements, so I can make sure I honor that in the choice I make.
Yep.
And in fact, for her, there was no restriction, which is even easier. So I just picked somewhere I liked that seemed like a good choice. And it was nowhere I'd been before, but we both liked it. It was fun. Yep. But it's that sort of level of communication where you have enough integrity to ask honest questions and provide honest answers.
Honest answers. Oh, instead of I don't care when you really do.
Right.
That's the worst.
And so it's safety, just to add that point, is that when we don't tell the truth, when we make something up to try and please the other person, that's not safe either. Because you're putting yourself in uncertain ground where you're not sure what's going to happen and you don't have dominion anymore. When totally honest and speak with your truth, then if they like it, great. If they don't like it, it's great too, because you're being honest and you're being safe with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important. And to take it to a big extreme, there's a number of restaurants now that in the ladies' room, there's a sign that says, if you have a problem, order this drink, and we will know to come and rescue you. And some of them even have a list of, do you need us to come and tell you that you have a phone call? Do you need us to call the police? Do you need us to get you out the back door? And it's so seldom that circumstance comes up, and how nice that they're ready to be very proactive about it. Because we know generally places that have bars that are part of restaurants or bars by themselves thrive on female business, because the guys, unless it's some big fancy sports bar, that's why they go. But if they're going to meet women need to be there. And it's very important for those establishment to be very women friendly.
Yeah.
So a lot of them have started that as a policy, and I love that. I
love it. At the same time, part of me is just going, we come this far. This is where we have to be now.
Isn't it sad? I know.
But that's the piece though also, is that because we have got the way we are in our society, there are certain rules, certain structures, certain resources that I believe we need to take advantage of.
Yes.
Especially for the ladies. So that's a good thing to know about.
Yes. And there were times when I'd have a man offer to walk me to my car, and I would pretty much say, okay, if it was the daytime, and I checked with my little spidey sense and they seemed perfectly fine. I would often say no thank you at night. Mm-hmm. I'd give them a hug goodbye at the door, and then I'd walk to my car, which was really close, and the manager would be standing there watching the whole thing. But I didn't want to ask for trouble. I didn't want to, not even just that they could hurt me, but that they would think I was asking for more than just a goodbye hug. That it wasn't going for a makeout session in the car.
Right.
So for the first date, I always wanted to establish, this was lovely. Yes, if I wanted to, I'd be happy to see you again. And this is where it's ending, is at the door. this time. And it's just me. Not everybody feels that way. I just want to put it out there that it's an option. And I never had a good guy, have any problem. He'd go, okay, I'll look forward to seeing you next time. I'll give you a call. But he didn't get offended. I always thought it was nice that he offered because I figured he was being polite. But I'd say, no, thank you.
And that, again, clues for safety. Is first of all, if he takes offense at not, first if he doesn't offer, that's a clue that maybe he's not the right guy either, because you'd at least offer.
Because I like manners. We know I like manners.
And gentlemanly conduct, of course.
Uh-huh.
But the second piece of that is that the fact that he accepted your choice and didn't argue with you is another clue that it was safety.
Yes.
I mean, these are all like check marks. Like safety is not just, that's part of the mental and emotional safety.
Yes.
So, and that, I guess we're covering all three at the same time in this sense, is that understanding that safety hits us on all levels. And ideally, when you're on dates and when you're in a relationship, you want to feel like you're being respected and appreciative of who you are.
Very much.
And so these things speak to that.
And it lets him know I care a lot about my safety. So I only want to be with somebody that cares about my safety.
Yeah.
And gives him a chance to say, look at what a cool guy I am. I'm going to be okay with it.
I don't actually do that. Do I do that myself? No.
Well, other guy. But I think it's really important as the woman that we set the tone. We set the pace of what we want. And you guys will just rise up to it. You really will. If you're the right kind of guy, you just step up and go, yeah, look at, I'm a good guy. I'm into that. And even if you're disappointed or gosh, you'd really like to walk me to my car to show me how gallant and gentlemanly you are, that you're showing me even more gentlemanly how you are by respecting me. I like that you brought that up because I think that that's really essential for both people.
And on top of that, if we did the right thing by doing that, there will be another time when you can walk her to a car and then make out in the car and progression goes, if it works
for
out.
Sure. Next time, for sure, for me.
Yeah.
I just need you to respect me the first time. That's really who I am.
Hopefully respect you all the way through.
Yes. But it's like the first blush, the first hurdle, the first way of confirming.
First impression.
Very much. It continues through the end of the date.
Exactly. And there's something about that is and this thing I had to learn because I didn't do this when I was a lot younger, is having patience.
Oh, yes. Well, because you're a good guy. You want to just get there.
Yeah, it's like, can't you tell? It's like, the truth is like, no, she has to learn that over time. So just stay true to myself, show up honestly, and let her know by being.
And I've mentioned before that my late husband offered to pick me up the first time for lunch. And I said, no, for the first time, I always want to meet somebody where we're going. And then he explained to me that the other 2 dates that he'd been on, they had him pick him up at their house for dinner. I know, for the first date. So he just thought, because he hadn't dated in 30 years. So he thought, well, this is the new way. And I said, no. And he was fine with it. But he asked because he was polite.
And also, guess who you married? Not those two.
That's true. That's true.
Just saying.
He said he could tell that I was the one after the second date.
Beautiful.
So there you go. And it wasn't off-putting. I assure you, ladies, it wasn't off-putting for me to say, no, I want to drive myself. And no, I'm fine walking myself to the car. He was perfectly fine with that. And he was very much a gentleman. Yeah.
So next.
Yes. So the other part of safety is that I always told everybody where I was going and gave them the link to who it was I was meeting. And I didn't do this very often, but I do have clients that are more comfortable having somebody call them. And it's either the date's crappy and they have an emergency, or they go, thanks for checking. And you tell them, I had somebody checking and I want to stay. Because doesn't that make you feel okay?
Well, it's like, oh, thank you. I feel much better now.
Yeah. I'm having such a good time, but I wanted to make sure I was having a good time. So they were checking in.
And
But
actually,
always people know where you are. Always, always,
Oh, yeah.
always. Where you are, who you're meeting, what their whole name is, what their phone number is. It's just good sense.
And it's funny because that is, again, I feel better the fact that you let me know by saying to your friend on the phone that you're enjoying the date, like, feels good. But secondly, is my respect for you goes up because you're taking care of yourself. One of the things that I've learned, and one thing I think from many women, and I tell women this a lot, is when you do things to take care of yourself, you become more appreciated by men who appreciate that. Well, that's going over. Let me say another way.
There's a lot of appreciating.
Yes. When women take care of themselves, I one, I respect them, but two, I appreciate they're doing that because it makes me feel like somebody's going to take care of themselves in other ways too. So it's additive.
Yeah. And from what I understand, men don't want to feel like they have to take care of us all day long, every day. You like that we have a life. You like that we have interests. You like that we can depend on you for things, some things, but not everything, that we're not this needy, dependent person. So if we are demonstrating that we can look out for ourselves, especially when we're first initially meeting people, that you'd go, wow, this is good. I like this about her.
I would say yes, and.
Okay, I like the and.
Well, because it's true what you said, and there are certain people that are wired thinking that unless I'm needed all the time, I don't feel loved.
Yes.
So there's that wiring people carry around, which is not healthy and not respectful. But the challenge people carry that dysfunctional wiring, so to speak, where they don't recognize that when somebody doesn't need them, that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yes. Well, and isn't that a good way to find that out about
Absolutely.
that person that you're with? That either they would like that you had somebody checking in and now you're happy to stay, or they wouldn't like it. And I'm like, why wouldn't you like that? I think that would take a little bit more conversation for sure.
Better on the first date than on the third.
Yes. Yes. Oh, but that's what you do to just keep going, getting to know somebody even more.
Absolutely.
So I think we've covered a lot about the dating arena, and maybe a little bit more after the break, but then we'll get into how to feel safe in relationships.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. We'll see you in a minute.
I think so too. Here comes the commercials. And we're back talking about how to be safe in dating and relationships. We're giving you lots of tips and tricks and things to think about. Maybe you've not thought about them. Maybe you've tried some of them. Maybe you just need more options. Because, I think it's a higher priority to women to feel safe when they're dating. And I think it's also really essential for men too, that you don't have somebody take advantage of you, that they don't blatantly hurt your feelings, So there is some of that too, not just the physical part, but certainly the emotional and mental part too.
For us men, I think the biggest piece is we want to know where we stand.
Yes. From us women who don't always talk straight.
Yeah. That's also the challenge, because when we talked about this before, men and women do communicate differently, and so sometimes we want just the facts, ma'am. Just to know where we stand. Where the flashback came from, so we can understand what's going on, because we also don't want to cross the line the wrong way without knowing. So it's oftentimes just telling us where we stand, so we know what is appropriate.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we feel like we're a bit of a kid in the candy store. We want to do everything. It's like, well, maybe we shouldn't write so fast.
Yeah. So if we give you information about the pace that we want to go, I'm comfortable shaking hands when I first meet the person, even though I'm a big huggy person. And generally I'm pretty okay hugging them if I feel comfortable by the end of the first date. I generally don't have a kiss on the first date, even before COVID, and certainly not now. Even if they did say on their profile that they've been vaccinated, I need to just know more about them and their life, and who are you spending time with. And I mean, it's really a new conversation now. It's not just who you've had sex with, but who you've been breathing on. It's wild. It's just such a weird time to live.
And just to be transparent, by the way, that little checkbox in the dating app is just a checkbox in the dating app. Doesn't have verification that they got a card. You're not like, I don't believe the dating apps have like some place where you scan your vaccination card to get the check mark. Say yes. No. So just be aware that some people don't always tell the truth on the dating profiles. That's another safety tip, by the way. Back to dating for a second.
Yes.
So do your research.
Do your research. Look them up on other platforms. Look and see if they're on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram. I have a service that I pay for monthly that I use for my clients to look somebody up. And it does a lot of checking about them. Not everything, but I'm happy to do it, because you want to know that they, as close as you can check, they are who they say they are. They're not married. They aren't just got out of jail, or, I mean, really, it's important.
Yeah. It's a vital piece. I'm just reflecting, it's like, just comparing my dating experiences on the last few months. I've met some people on the dating apps. Yes, I'm still single. But the one I mentioned, I had the date I went on where we met in the mutual central place. I mean, she and I have a lot of history, not direct, but we've been through the same grad school. We've known each other on and off for over 15 years. So that's a different paradigm. And so I know enough of her backstory so that I feel safer, to use the word, in exploring things with her, whereas the other ones I don't know from anybody. I mean, they seem nice women, but I don't know. So just the same as like, for women, it's good to have some level of due diligence, so to speak. I think for us men, it is important too, because some of the women out there aren't necessarily got their best interests at heart either.
No. Yes. As much as women go, oh, all men, and you are certainly not saying all women, it's true that there are women that are out to take advantage of men. They don't like them. They don't care about them. They're just out for a free meal. They're just out to see what they can get from them. Sad. And it does leave a bad taste in your mouth and makes you even more cautious about other women. And this is when people say, well, I don't want to date anybody with baggage. Well, then you have to be like 2, because everybody has baggage. You just have to have done some work on it so that it's less.
Yeah, you want to weigh the baggage, see how heavy it is.
Yes, it needs to be certainly has to be under 50 pounds, right? Like for the airplane.
Right, carry on ideally.
Very much. That would fit in a bin, an overhead bin. So first you need to think about your baggage. What are your criteria, and are they reasonable? Are they rational? Are they doable? Are you that? I mean, that's always a really good question to ask, because that makes your dating unsafe if you're not who you're asking for, or you're not clear about what you're asking, because then you're going to get disappointed, and it might be that not the other person's fault at all, because you weren't really clear about what you needed and wanted.
Absolutely. And boy, the things people, I mean, I say this, the things we do for love, the number of clients, and I did it myself just to be not hiding out, where I've ignored all the warning signs, or I've ignored all of the extra research I could have done to go, this is good, I'm going to play with this person, and then a few months in going, oh, I wish I'd checked first.
Yeah. Or I wish I'd paid attention to that red flag.
Oh yeah. And that's one of the challenges, is we get so caught up in the chemistry. Boy, have I ever done this, and ignored everything because this was too much fun, and it's like, if I'd just listened more carefully. Of course, in that particular instance, looking back at that relationship, if I hadn't had that relationship go as sideways as it did, I would never started this path and do the work I'm doing now. So I should be grateful for that, even so. That's rarity.
What we always want to go is, how do we not do that again?
Yeah.
It was great that we got to learn the lesson, because I certainly have had a lot of those in my life in the dating arena. And what I always wanted to say was, what did I learn from that? So that I won't do it that way again. I'll find another new way to do it, but I won't do it that way again.
Yeah, at least do something different, even if you're not doing anything.
Yes.
Better.
Oh, I could get very creative in my difference.
Right.
And so that way you keep tweaking and paying attention to what it is. We're back to the what do you need and want, and then how do you explain it to the other person to see if that's them. And you made such a valuable point before the break about when you talk to men, it's best to do short, concise sentences. And I love the male client that told me it years ago, treat me like Twitter. I loved that. He goes, short, concise sentences. Get to the point quickly.
Yeah. Well, so it's not so much that, but also bite-sized chunks, because, it's funny, I was in Clubhouse again. Oftentimes I'm one of the mods in a room, like to answer questions from the audience. And someone will come on stage and start asking a question, and I'm like, okay, I can answer that question, but they've already moved to the second question, the third question, the fourth question, and I'm like, hang on a second, let me just get the first one out of the way first, because it's more, because I think our wiring is like short question, short answer, short question, short answer, not 7 questions, 7 answers. That's a skill I'm still working on and getting better at, but it's a much greater practice to do that. It's not natural for us as men to do that.
Yes. So it feels important to say this, and it's not exactly the safety thing, but I'm going to say it anyway because it fits here, that what we women often do is we'll ask you a question that we've been thinking about for a while. So we've been chewing on it. This is the first time you've heard it. So you need to think about it. And we watch you think, and then we think, oh, he didn't understand the question. I need to ask him again in a different way.
Yeah.
So you are
so I'm chewing on the first one. You give me another bite to chew on, and I haven't got room to chew on it.
No. And you're like, wait. Oh, there's a new thing. Okay. Stop thinking about that. Start thinking about this. Oh, I think it's the sort of the same question, but it's a little bit different. Okay, now I have to think about it really differently. So now you're thinking again, and we're like, we still hasn't answered, and we're going to ask you a third time and change it. Oh, I was awful about that. Oh, yeah. I was so relieved the day that I found out that's not what you're supposed to do, because both of us in those conversations or lack of conversation were so frustrated, equally frustrated. Nothing was happening with that kind of a conversation with a man who really wanted to give me his opinion and his answer, but I kept interrupting him thinking.
So this is the trick on, and it's fine. I talked about the other side about as an Armstrong talks about the rage monster, and also about holding the bucket for her, that basket for her in process. Well, the other way around for the men is imagine you giving us a piece of steak to chew on. Yeah. And we're enjoying a chew, we're taking the flavor, we're trying to work it out, and enjoying we're getting all the nutrients out of it. Yeah. Which is the same as like considering the question was given to us, we're going to try to think it out, work it out, see what the answer is, and give it back to you. But before we get to do that, and it's a tough piece of meat, it takes a while to chew it. You give us another piece to chew on as well. Oh, it's that sort of energy of being overwhelmed, and it's like we're gagging on it now. We can't even talk properly, because that's the thing with questions, is it occupies mind space. We're trying to process it through. You put on top of that, and it's like we can't think about that one, and you put no on top of that. It's like heaven's the Murgatroyd. It's like that idea of understanding that makes us feel unsafe too, because we can't help you. there.
No.
And that's the thing, is we want to help, we want to answer, we want to give you what you need.
Yes.
And when you stop us doing it, we don't feel safe either.
No. Yes, which is why it's equally frustrating for the man. The women aren't getting this. They're feeling all frustrated. Like, I have to tell you how equally frustrating this is for him. So I'm going to use the steak thing. I think it's a really good analogy, because I also use Alison Armstrong's invisible duct tape. Once you've said the question, you put on invisible duct tape and you wait. He will say so. I promise you. Well, he's just trying to figure out the right answer. That's a good thing. Why is that a bad thing? Well, he's going to make it up. Well, maybe. And if that's so, then you're going to learn that he's not the right guy if he's just making up answers. A good guy just wants to really get to the right answer so that he tells you, I'm a well thought out opinion. I'm taking your question so seriously. I'm really chewing on it and thinking about it and going to give you my real true thought about it. I have to think about it for a couple minutes, though. Give me a break. And it's so hard for us to keep. And I will tell you, there were a few times when I was asking those, Tony would say the questions that made his head hot. He'd say, I have to get back to you. And he always, the next time we talked, he would have an answer. Never once did he miss answering my question when he would say that. There were times when it had to be days in between. He really had to think about it. And I had learned at this moment, this is when right after I'd learned this be quiet thing, which was so hard for me because, I like using lots of words. It really helped. Like Lady Gaga said, I was born this way.
Indeed.
That he, I would get really well thought out answers, and I never questioned that he was thinking about some tricky thing to say to me. Because I'd had people say tricky things to me. It was always a real, true, well thought out. I felt really honored that he thought about it and really worked out how, well, gosh, maybe I could think about it. Him saying, I could think about it a little differently. Wow, I never looked at it like that. Or wow, I really want her to look at it differently. And this is going to be my argument. And it led to some amazing conversations because I learned to wait.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'd spent years interrupting men's thoughts. Years. It's like that 12-step thing. I feel like so many things I should go back and apologize to them. I didn't know better.
Right. And that's the thing.
Now I love teaching it. I love teaching.
That's the thing is that we get to pass along what we've learned the hard way sometimes.
Yeah.
But the thing in relationship, that's the thing about safety as well in relationship, is that communication is part of the safety process. Is can you be understood by the other person, and can you also let that person in as well when you're listening to them as well? That part of safety is fundamental, because when you learn that balancing act and the ability to shift the communication, understand the communication, it raises the level of intimacy to another level, which is what safety is also about. I mean, I would suggest, except in very kinky situations, that intimacy doesn't happen without safety.
Yeah.
And so if you want to have a healthy romantic relationship, safety is vital. And it can be just having being for the man, being like the perimeter guard, so that when the kids are around, it's like the kids are told to go play in the iPad, you lock the door and you have privacy. That's safety as well. Yeah. Safety to just let down the walls and be totally free with each other. So it's not just, the man being the safe person with a woman. It could even be the husband with the wife and the kids, make sure she feels safe, that she can relax and play and have fun without the risk of the kids walking on, sort of thing.
Yes.
So it's a bigger picture about how to create safety in the relationship, because there's more pieces to the puzzle.
Yes. Well, and it's funny that you brought up kinky, because it's so important. I know, it's no such off. It's so important to have a safe word. It's so important. I mean, if you're going to let somebody tie you up or restrain you somehow, you have to feel really safe with them. Really safe. You have to know they're not out to hurt you. They really will listen if it's too much. They will respect, the level of the excitement of being restrained, or the excitement of maybe a little bit of pain. That takes such a safety feeling, such a safety feeling. I mean, women are not going to do that generally in a healthy relationship if they don't feel super safe. And it's the only way we can relax enough to really enjoy it is if we feel safe. Along with all the excitement, we have to feel safe that you care about us. And it's why lots of men don't want to be the person that's the submissive, because how would they give up that, that powerful, in control way? I think it's even, as much as I feel about our lack of size and girth for fighting against a man that wanted to hurt us, it's men's giving up this very sensitive ego part of them to give that over to a woman that you'd have to feel so 100% safe in every way possible to
Absolutely.
allow that, I would believe.
Yeah.
Just to go off on that little tangent for a second.
Just this little paradigm shift.
I know, but you brought it. I didn't even bring it up this time. You did.
I just left one word and you went.
I know you. So the other thing.
Sorry, let me just fix that one picture.
Sure.
Moment in time, because the thing is, what we're doing there. I mean, we just demonstrated something.
Yeah.
Which we demonstrated about how safe our communication is.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about safety in a relationship is, do you know what you can talk about with your partner?
Yeah.
How far can you go? How much can you play back and forward, from the groceries to the kinky stuff or whatever that is? And know you can trust your partner for it. That's a piece of safety in a relationship too. It's communication.
And how nice we both feel so safe with each other. That really was a fun demonstration. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't even think of that.
Absolutely. It's a teaching moment. I'm going to use it.
It was so fun. You get to do that a lot. Lucky us. That's why we love doing this. So I did want to bring up that there are some ways that you can wonder if you're not feeling safe, in that if you're with somebody that's narcissistic or a sociopath and you start doubting yourself, you doubt your own personal instincts, your own personal opinion. People are saying lots of stuff from the outside and you're believing this person that you're intimate with, and you're not listening to you, or you're questioning you, and you're questioning all these other people. At least check in with a professional.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the time it's not a safe situation, because they will do gaslighting. They make you doubt yourself. They make you question yourself. They never take responsibility for anything happening that's not good or pleasant, or that's not happening their way. That it's really essential, if that is happening in your relationship at any time, just check in with a professional, because you will go down a terrible rabbit hole.
Yes, I agree. Now, I actually make it more another piece of that, which is stay present, stay aware. Sometimes in relationships we get so comfortable we just relax and don't think about things. Now, there's a joy in that freedom of relaxing. Mm-hmm. However, just keep your radar aware, just double checking it's okay. Because first of all, you can use it as a way to make sure you stay adding to the relationship and enjoying each other and playing with each other.
Yes.
But secondly, when things go off track, you'll be more present and more quick to notice those things, to go, okay, let me keep an eye on that, be aware of that.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with I mean, since we're going the direction about narcissism, is something that in a relationship that most narcissists will hide their true colors for many, many weeks, months into the relationship before they start showing who they really are.
Yes.
And they do it gradually. So it's, and I want to say in some ways, not about don't trust your partner, but don't blindly trust your partner.
Yes.
Trust with forethought, with wisdom, and with insight, so you know that who you're with is who you know they are to be.
Yes. Lately, I've been saying, I'm fine with you having your heart out there. Just please bring your brain along. Don't check out of your brain. Please keep them in tandem. Because people are like, oh, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Well, keep your brain out there too. I mean, I find it pretty impossible to have people stop wearing their heart on their sleeve. They like doing it. They brag about it. I go, okay, we'll work on it the other way. We're going to bring a balance of your brain too.
Yeah.
Because it will protect your heart. If you're going to put your heart out there, let's not have it get in a head-on collision. Let's put a nice bumper in front. Let's put headlights. Let's put a a sensor thing. You know, those cars have those sensor things now. They practically do everything on their own. Well, let's do that. Let's put your brain out there so that you're not leaving your heart all vulnerable, because that's not very friendly way to treat your heart. And as we've said, not everyone's a match. They're not a bad person. And then some people really are bad people. And you need to just stay aware. And if you get this inkling, your spidey sense starts going, then just keep checking it out. And if you see yourself doubting your own thoughts, your own opinions, that you know that they've been there forever, please just check in with a professional. Just call a coach, call a therapist, you know, even if it's only just a couple of visits to get reassurance. But oh my gosh, that is one of the worst things that can happen to either side, a man or a woman, to get caught up with a narcissist who just beats you down and turns you into somebody who isn't who you used to be.
Right. I mean, it's such a potent thing to get. And it's like, yes, the heart on the sleeve, been there, done that. But the recognition, like it's like saying, is that, you know, the brain, the mind, so to speak, is a great servant but terrible master. So definitely have your heart be the master, but make sure your brain or your mind is the guardian, is the lieutenant taking care of everything else for you.
Yes, so that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah, because that way the heart, which is really the primary focus you want to bring into a loving relationship, is in charge. But the wisdom of the mind, the wisdom of the heart together becomes a powerful tool to use for your, not so much defense, but for your safety navigation through relationships and dating.
Yeah, but the heart doesn't pay attention to that very well. It's all like, la, 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 and this feels really good. And oh, they're so cute. And oh my gosh, I have all this energy and all this sexual fun stuff. And you're like, great. That's so good. I'm glad you have that in your body. And let's ask your brain, what are you thinking? What do you think about this? And let's ask a couple more questions about that, because maybe it'll just make it even more fun, right? We're all into more fun.
It's having discernment. It's like having the love is great, but having discernment's key as well. So absolutely using both. Oh,
discernment. Boy, we all have that as our extra middle name. I like that a lot.
Yes.
So if that's ever happened to you, or you want to make sure it doesn't happen to you, you could talk to Barry or I. So the way that you get a hold of me is my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. You can sign up for a complimentary conversation with me. Where did that come from? Through What's Holding You Back from Love. It's a link on my website. And you can send me an email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. You can also reach me on Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram and Twitter.
And YouTube?
I did them all, huh?
That was all of them, I think. YouTube, was that in there? I can't remember.
Oh, no, YouTube. Geez, I always forget. But I don't even forget the same one each time. So, Barry, tell them how to get a hold of you. You're much better at this than I am.
I've had some practice and I've done a lot of social media stuff. Anyway, so yes, you definitely can find me on my website, which is barryselby.com. I'm still waiting for this fix on one of the glitches on my site for the mobile version, but the desktop version is pretty clean now. So on the front page, you can click on any one of the buttons that says "Let's talk," connect, that sort of stuff, and you can find out more about me there. You can directly email me at barryselby.com. Oh, back up a second. My website is where you can also sign up for a complimentary, say the word clearly, conversation with me. See if I get you started in the next steps, and if you want to work with me, whatever, when I go for different services, etc. Email me at barryselby.com, and on social media, you can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter and YouTube and Clubhouse at Barry Selby, and on Instagram it's The Real Barry Selby, and on Facebook it's barryselby.author.
And at Clubhouse,
I said Clubhouse, but Clubhouse is Barry Selby. Yeah,
the Love Doctor.
I'm known as the Love Doctor on Clubhouse, but you can find me at Barry Selby on Clubhouse. That's the that's the real name versus nickname.
Gosh, you have lots of aliases. You could be a spy.
That's not rumors.
Oh no. So we will be back next week with another scintillating conversation at 1:00 Pacific and 4:00 Eastern, and all the other times in between with Let's Talk About Dating.
Yeah, we'll see you then.
Bye for now.
Bye.